Every year, thousands face health emergencies alone. The difference between life and death often comes down to knowing what to do in the next 60 seconds. The truth, most people panic, but you don't have to. Most people believe that a sudden health crisis strikes out of nowhere as if the body betrays them in a single shocking moment. The truth is far less dramatic, but far more important. Emergencies rarely begin in a single instant. Instead, they are built slowly, brick by brick, through small, overlooked choices that add up over years. It is like watching a roof leak. At first, just a drop or two, barely noticeable, easy to ignore. But over time, those drops weaken the foundation until one day the ceiling caves in. The body works the same way. Day after day, silent habits drain its strength and resilience. By the time the crisis arrives, the ground has already been prepared. One of the greatest overlooked triggers is stress, not the quick jolt of stress that pushes you to finish a task, but the low, constant tension that never seems to end. Chronic stress is like leaving a light bulb burning day and night. It eats at your reserves, disrupts sleep, and keeps your body in a state of readiness long after the threat has passed. Over time, this wears down your heart, your energy, and even your immune system. Many people do not notice this until it shows up as a racing pulse, chest tightness, or a sudden crash of exhaustion. Stress is invisible, but its impact is constant, and often it is the silent spark behind sudden emergencies. Another hidden factor is the slow decline of muscle strength, especially in the legs and core. You might think this has nothing to do with heart health or emergency situations, but the two are deeply linked. Muscles are like batteries for the body. They store energy, regulate blood sugar, and help pump blood back toward the heart. When muscles weaken, the whole system loses efficiency. Blood sugar spikes become more common. Circulation slows, fatigue increases. This creates fertile ground for larger problems to surface. What seems like just getting weaker with age is often an early trigger for deeper issues. Ignoring this slow fade is like ignoring the low oil light on your car. It will not stop the engine today, but eventually it will. Dietary habits also play a powerful role, often in ways that are not immediately obvious. A diet full of refined sugars and processed foods might not cause pain right away. In fact, it may give a quick burst of energy that feels satisfying in the moment, but beneath the surface, it inflames the blood vessels, increases insulin resistance, and forces the heart to work harder. Over years, this steady pressure weakens the system until one day it feels like everything fails at once. In truth, the failure began long before with daily bites and sips that seemed harmless. The danger is not in the single piece of cake or one late-night snack, but in the repeated pattern of fuel that the body cannot sustain. Sleep is another overlooked piece of the puzzle. Many adults push through fatigue, convincing themselves they can get by on fewer hours. But sleep is not just rest, it is repair. When the body does not get enough deep restorative sleep, hormones become imbalanced, blood pressure rises, and recovery slows. The lack of sleep compounds over time, leaving the body more vulnerable to sudden stress. Imagine trying to drive across the country on half a tank of gas every day. Eventually, the car stalls in the middle of the road. The body is no different. What makes these triggers so dangerous is not their strength, but their subtlety. They rarely demand attention in the beginning. They creep in quietly, disguised as normal aging or just part of a busy lifestyle. A little stiffness here, some poor sleep there, a stressful week that turns into a stressful year. Before long, the foundation has been weakened, and when the unexpected happens, the body is less prepared to handle it. This is why so many emergencies seem sudden when in reality, they are the result of years of accumulation. The good news is that once you understand these triggers, you can begin to change them. You do not need drastic measures or complicated solutions. You only need to address the small leaks before they become floods. By reducing chronic stress, strengthening muscles, choosing better fuel, and protecting your sleep, you take away the silent builders of crisis. You turn the body from fragile and reactive to resilient and prepared. Awareness is the first step. Most people never stop to connect the dots until it is too late, but once you see the pattern, you can rewrite the outcome. Emergencies may not always be avoidable, but their impact can be softened and their frequency can be reduced. The overlooked triggers do not have to define your future if you begin addressing them today. The body is remarkably intelligent. Long before a major health crisis strikes, it whispers in subtle ways, giving signals that something is off balance. These early warning signs are easy to overlook, especially when life is busy or when discomfort seems minor, yet they are often the body's way of pleading for attention. Ignoring them is like silencing a smoke alarm while the fire slowly spreads. The signs themselves may feel small, but together they can point to deeper issues that need to be addressed before they grow into emergencies. One of the most common signals is unusual fatigue. This is not the normal tiredness that follows a long day or a poor night's sleep. It is a deeper sense of exhaustion, the kind that lingers even after rest. Many brush this off as part of aging, but it is more often the body's way of saying that energy systems are not functioning properly. Circulation may be slowing, nutrients may not be absorbed efficiently, or the heart may be working harder than it should. When waking up still feels like dragging yourself uphill, the body is waving a flag that balance is slipping. Another early sign is shortness of breath during simple activities. Walking upstairs, carrying groceries, or even bending down to tie shoes might suddenly feel more challenging. It is easy to dismiss this as being out of shape, but often it reflects something deeper. The lungs and heart are partners in supplying oxygen to every cell. When either one is under strain, breathing becomes more difficult. Even mild breathlessness is worth noting because it reveals how well or how poorly the system is handling daily stress. Over time, what begins as slight difficulty can turn into a serious limitation if the cause is not addressed. Changes in circulation are also key indicators. Cold hands and feet, tingling in the extremities, or swelling in the ankles may seem minor but reveal how effectively blood is moving through the body. When circulation weakens, cells do not receive the oxygen and nutrients they need, and waste products linger longer than they should. The body speaks through these sensations, urging action before the system becomes further compromised. Swelling, in particular, is often brushed aside as temporary, yet it can point to fluid retention and increased strain on the heart. Sleep disturbances are another warning signal that many underestimate. Waking frequently during the night, tossing and turning, or experiencing restless sleep is more than just an annoyance. It disrupts the body's repair cycle. If the heart rate or breathing patterns are irregular during sleep, the body struggles to reach deep restorative phases. This can lead to increased blood pressure, hormonal imbalances, and reduced resilience. A restless night here and there is normal, but when it becomes a pattern, it signals the body is not getting the recovery it desperately needs. Subtle pain or discomfort can also act as an early sign. It may show up as occasional chest tightness, jaw tension, or even indigestion that seems unrelated to meals. These discomforts often appear inconsistently, which makes them easy to brush aside, but pain is the body's language of urgency. When organs or systems are strained, they often send signals to other parts of the body. What feels like a random ache may in fact be a carefully placed alarm. Learning to pay attention to these small discomforts allows for action before they become severe. Another overlooked signal is mental and emotional change. Difficulty concentrating, frequent forgetfulness, or unusual irritability may not seem connected to physical health, but they often are. The brain is highly sensitive to changes in blood flow, oxygen, and hormone levels. When the body is under stress, the mind is one of the first places where signs appear. Dismissing these changes as just getting older misses the opportunity to correct underlying imbalances that affect both clarity and mood. The challenge with early warning signs is that they rarely scream for attention. Instead, they whisper. They arrive quietly asking to be noticed. The problem is that many people become accustomed to them. Fatigue becomes normal, shortness of breath becomes expected, poor sleep is accepted as part of life. The danger is not the symptom itself, but the normalization of it. What we normalize, we fail to correct. And what we fail to correct often grows into something far larger. The good news is that listening to these signs can change everything. A small adjustment in lifestyle, diet, or stress management made early can prevent years of struggle later. Catching the signs before they escalate allows the body to heal rather than collapse. The body is not trying to scare us with these signals, it is trying to protect us. Each whisper is an invitation to act, to strengthen, and to prevent a storm from building. Ignoring them closes the window of prevention, while noticing them opens the door to recovery and resilience. When the body suddenly shifts into crisis, the moments that follow are often the most critical. An emergency response is not simply about reacting in panic. It is about acting with clarity and purpose in a time when every second matters. The body can be resilient, but when a severe health event strikes, such as a heart attack, the difference between survival and tragedy often comes down to the immediate actions taken. Most people imagine that emergencies only happen to others, or they assume they will always have someone around to help. Yet, reality often proves otherwise. Many events strike when someone is alone, caught off guard, unsure of what to do. Preparing the mind for those moments is just as vital as caring for the body beforehand. The first step in any emergency response is recognizing that something serious is unfolding. Denial can be one of the most dangerous reactions as precious time slips away. When severe chest discomfort, sudden weakness, difficulty breathing, or overwhelming dizziness arises, the instinct to dismiss it as indigestion or fatigue can be strong, but hesitation is costly. The body is crying out for help and the window for intervention is small. Accepting the seriousness of the moment is the gateway to survival. The mind must shift quickly from confusion to action. Once recognition is clear, the focus must move to immediate action. The priority is always to support oxygen flow and circulation. For example, at the onset of chest pain or pressure, sitting down and remaining calm helps reduce the strain on the heart. Panic accelerates the pulse, making the body work harder when it is already struggling. Deep, steady breaths supply oxygen more effectively than shallow, rapid breathing. In these first critical seconds, calmness is not weakness, it is strength. It is the body's ally in stabilizing the storm. If there is access to emergency medical services, calling for help should be the next immediate step. Even if the situation seems uncertain, it is far better to activate professional support than to risk waiting. Time is the invisible factor that determines outcome. Paramedics and doctors can do what no home remedy can achieve, but they can only act once they arrive. Each minute shaved off the response time increases the chances of survival. In an age where phones are always nearby, the call for help must never be delayed by pride, fear, or indecision. Yet, emergencies are not always neat, and sometimes help cannot arrive instantly. This is where simple practical knowledge becomes life-saving. If a heart attack is suspected and aspirin is available, chewing it slowly allows it to enter the bloodstream quickly, thinning the blood and reducing the burden on the heart. This is not a cure, but it is a powerful first defense. If breathing or consciousness is lost, knowing how to perform chest compressions can mean the difference between life and death. Even imperfect compressions are far more valuable than none at all, as they maintain vital circulation until professionals can take over. Beyond the physical steps, the mindset in an emergency is equally important. Fear narrows thinking, making it difficult to act logically. This is why rehearsing scenarios mentally can be powerful. Just as pilots train for emergencies before they ever step into a plane, individuals can prepare their minds by simply imagining what they would do if certain symptoms appeared. When the real moment comes, the brain already has a blueprint to follow, reducing hesitation and confusion. Calmness is not accidental, it is built through preparation. The emergency response does not end with survival in the moment. What follows in the hours and days afterward is just as crucial. The body will need rest, observation, and professional care. Yet for many, the experience becomes a turning point, a wake-up call that life cannot continue as before. Emergencies carry lessons within them. They remind us of the fragility of health and the urgency of paying attention to the signals long before the crisis hits. If taken seriously, they become a catalyst for better habits, stronger routines, and deeper respect for the body's limits. The most empowering truth is this: while we cannot prevent every emergency, we can control our readiness. Preparedness transforms fear into confidence, knowledge turns chaos into direction. The actions taken in the first few minutes of a health crisis are not random, they are the result of awareness, preparation, and the decision to act rather than freeze. Each of us holds more power than we realize in those moments. By practicing calmness, learning the simple steps, and acknowledging the body's early warnings, we can meet emergencies not as helpless victims, but as active participants in our own survival. Life is a series of choices, and while some are large and dramatic, most of them are quiet and subtle, shaping the direction of our health in ways we rarely notice in the moment. The better daily choice is not about radical transformation overnight or grand gestures of discipline. It is about the small adjustments repeated with consistency that add up over time to protect the heart, strengthen the body, and preserve the ability to live fully. When we think of long-term health, we often imagine complex treatments or expensive interventions. But the truth is far simpler. The body thrives not on extremes but on balance, and it rewards steady, thoughtful choices far more than occasional bursts of effort followed by neglect. The better choice begins with awareness of what drains vitality versus what sustains it. Every day, countless small decisions present themselves: what to eat, when to rest, how to move, whether to give into stress or release it. Each moment is a fork in the road. For example, when reaching for food, the choice between processed, sugary options and whole, nutrient-dense foods determines how the body's systems will perform hours later. The heart, blood vessels, and muscles are not indifferent. They are directly shaped by these inputs. Choosing real food rich in natural nutrients provides the raw materials the body needs to repair, energize, and defend itself against disease. Movement is another arena where better daily choices prove powerful. Many imagine exercise as intense, exhausting routines that are difficult to maintain, but the body benefits more from consistent, gentle movement than from occasional extremes. Walking, stretching, or light resistance training creates circulation, strengthens muscles, and reduces the strain on the heart. Even 10 minutes a few times a day can have profound effects when done regularly. The better choice here is to view movement not as a punishment or a chore, but as a gift to the body, an act of cooperation with its natural design. Sleep and rest are often underestimated, yet they are pillars of resilience. The body repairs itself in the quiet hours of sleep, balancing hormones, restoring energy, and clearing out the damage accumulated during the day. The better daily choice might mean turning off screens earlier, creating a calming evening routine, or respecting the body's signals of fatigue instead of ignoring them. Over time, this single shift multiplies benefits across all systems of the body. A well-rested heart is stronger, a clear mind makes wiser decisions, and energy levels remain steady throughout the day. Stress is perhaps the most invisible yet destructive force when it comes to health. Chronic worry or tension acts like a slow poison, constantly pushing the heart and nervous system into overdrive. The better choice here is not to eliminate all stress. That is impossible, but to create small moments of release. Deep breathing, short walks, simple meditations, or time spent in quiet reflection recalibrate the nervous system. These choices do not take much time, yet they provide profound protection, keeping the body from wearing itself out under pressure. What ties all of these daily choices together is consistency. A single good meal, one long walk, or one early night of sleep does not transform health, but repeated over weeks and months, these decisions create a foundation that is nearly unshakable. The body remembers patterns and it adapts to what it experiences most often. That means every small decision matters not because it must be perfect, but because it adds to a larger pattern of care. The better daily choice is not about rigid perfection. It is about leaning day after day in the direction of health rather than decline. What makes this empowering is the realization that no one needs to wait for a crisis to begin. Each person has the ability today to choose better in small, practical ways. It does not require wealth, complex equipment, or extraordinary willpower. It simply requires awareness, intention, and the willingness to take one step at a time. The better daily choice is always available, waiting to be claimed in the smallest of moments. A walk instead of the couch, water instead of soda, a breath instead of anger, rest instead of pushing beyond exhaustion. When embraced consistently, these choices accumulate into a life that feels stronger, lighter, and more resilient. Knowledge, no matter how powerful, only changes life when it is applied. The gap between understanding what is good for the body and actually doing it every day is where most people struggle. Putting it into practice is not about willpower alone. It is about creating an environment, routine, and mindset that make healthy actions natural rather than forced. The body responds best to rhythm, and when those rhythms are built into daily life, they stop feeling like tasks and instead become part of who we are. This is how good intentions transform into lasting habits that shape health for years to come. The first step in putting any principle into practice is to start small. People often overwhelm themselves by attempting too many changes at once, creating frustration and quick burnout. The better way is to choose one clear, manageable action that can be repeated consistently. For example, instead of overhauling the entire diet overnight, it may mean beginning with one nutritious breakfast each day. That one choice sets the tone for energy, mood, and cravings. Once it becomes comfortable, the next step, such as replacing sugary snacks with fresh fruit, can follow. Layering habits gradually builds momentum without creating resistance. Consistency is supported by structure. The body thrives on routine because it signals safety and balance. Scheduling healthy actions into the day makes them far more likely to happen. A simple walk after dinner, a glass of water upon waking, or 5 minutes of breathing before bed become anchors that guide the day. When these actions are linked to existing habits such as brushing teeth, making coffee, or checking the phone, they become automatic. This method, often called habit stacking, turns effort into ease by attaching new behaviors to old ones. Over time, what once required thought becomes second nature. Mindset is equally important in putting health into practice. Many people approach lifestyle changes with pressure and guilt, believing that every slip means failure. This thinking sabotages progress because it turns small setbacks into excuses to quit altogether. A better mindset is one of compassion and persistence. One skipped walk or indulgent meal is not a failure. It is simply part of the human experience. What matters is the return to balance at the next opportunity. Seeing each day as a fresh chance to choose health removes the weight of perfection and keeps momentum alive. Environment plays a silent but powerful role in daily practice. Surroundings either support or sabotage intentions. A kitchen stocked with processed foods makes poor choices more likely, while a refrigerator filled with colorful produce nudges the body toward vitality. Leaving comfortable shoes by the door encourages movement, while keeping devices out of the bedroom invites deeper rest. By shaping the environment, the need for willpower decreases because the better option is always the easiest one to reach. This principle can be applied to every corner of life, from how the home is arranged to the company that fills it. Support from others is another essential layer. While health is personal, it thrives in connection. Walking with a friend, cooking with family, or sharing progress with a group provides accountability and encouragement. These relationships transform solitary discipline into shared celebration. They also help during moments of low motivation, reminding us that we are not alone in our journey. Even small conversations about choices and goals reinforce commitment. And over time, community becomes one of the strongest motivators for consistency. The final piece of putting it into practice is reflection. Without pausing to notice progress, it is easy to forget how far one has come. Small victories, better sleep, more energy, less stiffness, improved mood are signs that choices are working. Writing them down or simply acknowledging them at the end of the day builds confidence and makes the effort feel worthwhile. Reflection also reveals what still feels difficult, guiding adjustments that keep progress steady. It is not about judgment, but about learning from the body and honoring its signals. Putting it into practice then is less about sudden transformation and more about weaving healthy choices into the fabric of everyday life. Start small, build routines, shape the environment, lean on support, and celebrate progress. These steps turn knowledge into action and action into habit. When this becomes a way of living, the body responds with strength, resilience, and freedom, rewarding each choice with renewed vitality. The path to lasting health is not paved with perfection, but with persistence.